This episode of Sideline Warning is brought to you by Roosport, makers of the original magnetic running pouch. Whether you're biking, running, hiking, or even traveling, the Roosport clips to your waistband with magnets for an easy, convenient way to carry what you need without the bulk of belts or bags. Visit theroosport.com and use the code SIDELINE30, all lowercase, for 30% off their entire product line. Again, that's theroosport.com, promo code SIDELINE30. And now on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sideline Warning, the show where sports takes are sure to go way too far into the field. Here to recap this week's biggest and best sports stories are your hosts, Dave Adams, Ben Foster, and Adam Russell.
And welcome everybody into the show, Sideline Morning, and we are at episode 40. This is a very special episode. Not only are we talking about Alabama's first game against Louisville, so this is the first time that we've ever talked about the first game of the season. This is the first time that I am doing the show on location in beautiful Orlando, Florida. I'm not going to go through all the suburbs just because I don't have my Wikipedia in front of me now. I will say maybe Oklahoma, but normally I bring in all of my friends, Ben and Adam, but Ben is on location in Rome, Italy right now, so he is not going to call in. But I am actually sitting across the table from the one, the only, Adam Russell. What's going on, Adam?
How you doing, man? Live and in person, and glad to be here. We're actually recording from the Yacht Club Resort, or Beach Club
Beach Club, right.
Over here at Disney World, so we're able to do it here in one of the locations that we have mentioned many, many times before. Lake Buena Vista, Florida.
Yes, Lake Buena Vista. Bonaventure Hills, I remember, is one of them. I don't know where that is, but I don't know why it stands out. I don't know if I mentioned it. Did I say I'm the golden voice of the Southeast?
Why not say it again?
Okay,
even
well,
if you did mention it.
I'm the golden voice of the Southeast. And you know, when you have a nickname like that, and you have a podcast like this, sometimes you have some friends help you out, and your friends help you out by giving you media passes. We at Sideline Warning owe a huge thank you to Mickey Boylan and the Florida Citrus Sports guys for getting us sideline passes and media credentials. Both Ben and Adam were at the game, and Mickey helped us tremendously and got them both media passes. Adam, why don't you talk about that experience there for a little bit?
No, it was absolutely great. We've had Mickey on the show twice, and we figured, well, why not go out and at least fill out an application and just see what happens, and we got it, and they were very helpful throughout the entire process. And actually being there on game day, knowing that we had folks from the podcast able to be in the presser with Saban, able to be there interviewing the players, be on the field when the game was over, it just brought a little bit of justification of why we do what we do. It felt really cool. So I know Ben enjoyed it too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see you guys, posting on Instagram and see y'all's thoughts kind of in person. I was actually in a hotel room in Atlanta, watching on a 35-inch TV, sitting on a bed because I couldn't pace like I normally do. But if you were following the Sideline Warning Twitter, that was actually me posting all the fun stuff on Twitter. One of our fans got a little upset at my the way I started the game off. I want to apologize. It wasn't a male chauvinist thing. It was actually a quote from the program. I put the children in bed, go looking for dinner, boys. But yeah, that's something I've done for the past couple of years. But being that we had media passes, we were able to go in, and Ben was able to go in and get some media and some footage from some of the players talking. The questions weren't coming from Ben, but he did have his recorder in the huddle. And we're going to play a couple of those for you right now. The first one is actually something we talked about here on the show. A couple weeks ago, we talked about all the bulletin board material that the players for Louisville were talking. And Ben was able to get in the huddle with Deontay Thompson. Or Thompson? Yeah, Devontae Thompson. And one of the media members asked him, straight up said, a lot of these players were talking noise. Did that factor into what y'all were playing and how y'all did things? We're going to play that clip right here, and we'll let you hear what Devontae said about that.
How much were you guys motivated by the talk about the receivers saying that they were going to do 1,000% better than you guys?
We weren't worried about it at all, just chatter, that hasn't won anybody a football game. So we weren't focused on anything that they said or they did. We were just focusing on what we had the control in the game.
So Adam, do you think that he's telling the truth here, or is that just coach speak? Did Did that bulletin board material really not play into how he was looking at this? Or I mean, come on. He had to have something in that.
Oh, I know somebody, Coach Cochran, somebody in the locker room had it hanging somewhere and mentioned it at least once a day. I mean, I think them coming back and showing what they did on the field earned them every right to come back and say that it didn't factor in, because it obviously, I mean, they were able to pass. They were able to move the ball on us a little bit, but Deontay himself shut down one of the drives with an interception, and they flexed when they really needed to. And I mean, the 16 yards rushing that they had, I think one of the things they talked about in the bulletin board material was how they were going to dominate our O-line, or our D-line. That didn't happen. And so I think he earned every right to act nonchalant about it, but there's no way that didn't factor into preparation and wasn't mentioned in the prep week.
Yeah, I guarantee you, because one of the things Saban does is, he coaches out of how the other teams coach against him. I mean, if the players are going to come out and talk noise, Saban's going to talk noise about that. I mean, there's no way that wasn't brought up in the DB huddle or anything like that. But I mean, you said it best. You have to act like that didn't bother you. You have to really show that your play on the field is more important. So one of the other players we were able to talk to was one of the heroes from the national championship game, Devontae Smith, and the interviewer, the questioner, credentialed media member, actually asked the question: is this the best the offense can do? Do we only see them at half speed, or did we see them at 3/4 speed, or is this the best? And Devontae had a great answer. We're going to play that one right here.
Is this offense, is this about half what it can do? What it can do? I mean, how much potential is left of this offense?
I mean, it's half of what we can do. We got a lot of things to clean up and go watch film, see the mistakes that we had. But I mean, it could be better.
So Adam, he says that this is only half of what the offense can do. If that's the case, what are we as Alabama fans in store for this year?
Oh, it'll be an incredible year if this truly is only half. I mean, there's no question about that. I think, though, this one falls back under that coach speak of, we always have room to improve. We always have things we need to work on. We don't want to get too complacent. That mindset that he drills into him. And I have to say, with the way the team performed in the first game, and they could have come out of that locker room thumping their chest really hard against Louisville in a lot of ways, saying, oh, yeah, we went easy on them, and we don't have anything to improve on. We're going to go dominate everybody. I think of a team called Vanderbilt last year who came out saying that kind of thing, and we saw what happened to them. But it just shows how ready this team seems overall mentally, that they've bought into the process, that they're coming out, saying that they want to improve, they want to get better. And even if it is only half, they know that they're still not perfect.
Right, and that's kind of what I liked about this game. In fact, let's get into talking about the game. Even though Alabama won 51-14, and by the way, I want you to remember what my score prediction was. It was 56-21.
You were close.
I was close.
Yeah.
And Adam...
But you were over, so Price is Right rules.
Didn't you say it would be a pretty close game?
Yeah, I thought 35-24. I thought Louisville was going to be able to do a little bit more than they were, but our defense was obviously more ready than anybody was giving them credit for, particularly in the run game. So.
And also, I do have to bring this up. Both Adam and Ben's not here to defend himself, but I'm going to talk about him on the show. Y'all both picked Washington.
We did.
What happened, Adam?
Washington's offense absolutely let them down at the end of the day. They had every opportunity, and Auburn continued to give them every opportunity, and they didn't take advantage of it at the end of the day. They have a lot of room to improve and sport the sport better than the other sporty mixed sports. But I definitely am disappointed in Washington. They had that one handed to them on a silver platter, and they dropped it.
Actually, I think it was more of an orange and blue platter.
Yeah, that's probably why they dropped it.
Yeah, I would drop it too. Anyway, but let's go ahead and talk about the game. Adam, you mentioned that Alabama's defense held firm and held Louisville to 16 rushing yards.
Yes.
Is that something that we're going to be able to see the whole year? Is the way to beat Alabama pass and not rush? Or I don't know, because watching that game that I was shocked to see it happen that way, I don't see a flaw in this Alabama system.
No, I don't necessarily see a flaw. I see things that teams can take advantage of to make a game close if our offense isn't producing. I mean, you think about Mississippi State last year. You think about the Iron Bowl last year. We'll get to those games a little bit more with some other stuff we talk about later. But I think that overall, I think that if people want to exploit the pass game, I think there's an opportunity. But if our offense is running the way it is, I think we outscore people easily, especially if we make them one-dimensional. I mean, Louisville had 0.6 yards per attempt. I mean, that's just unbelievable that they couldn't even make it over 1 yard on average every time they ran the ball. And I think it was until the third quarter that they had even gotten a significant amount of positive yards at all. And that's when we're rotating our second and third string in at that point, So I think there is something that teams will try to take advantage of, but I think that the beauty of it is we've got the run side covered enough to where now we know where we need to focus. We know where we really need to adjust. We'll take advantage of that.
Yeah, what I like about the fact that we know we have places we have to adjust is that even though it was a huge win, 51-14, that's a huge lopsided win, and I'd say 99% of college football teams would be happy about that win. Nick Saban found a lot of reasons to be upset. Even one of Alabama's top stars, Christian Miller, got a 15-yard penalty against him for personal fouls. So what I see, Alabama's biggest problem this year is they don't have their emotion in check. And that's going to be a problem because people are going to come after you. When you are king of the hill, when you're top dog, they're going to come at you and try to get you down off of that hill. And if you don't have your emotions in check, something's going on.
Yeah, I mean, you see it when you watch shows like Last Chance U. I mean, when teams know you wear that chip on your shoulder and you've got that emotion on your sleeve, that they're gonna keep punching you in that sensitive spot until you react. And unfortunately, on the football field, when you react, it's never going to be good for you. And that is one thing that did surprise me. At first, it felt like it was just the referees, but then over time, you start to see being in the stands, the crowd, and you're part of the crowd, you hate the referees more than you do over television. But I think there is something there for sure that it's the first game, you're coming out of the tunnel, you're definitely amped up for it. Louisville's been running their mouth all the time, and all you want to do is smack them in the mouth. But you have to stand there and be almost righteous in a sense of, oh yeah, we're standing here beating you. This is what's happening right now, and I'm going to turn around and walk away. And just end it with that. That's really how they need to learn how to react. So.
Yeah, and that's usually what an Alabama Nick Saban-led team does. And it was shocking to me to see that the players didn't react that way. Is this just a sign of a younger team that we haven't seen in a while here at Alabama? Because most of the time you see Alabama teams have more upperclassmen than lowerclassmen. But then you look at this team, there's a whole lot of sophomores playing.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of freshmen playing last year. So is that going to be the sign of the times this year?
I hope not, because that's just like we're talking with the secondary and it being something people can exploit in a tight game. The penalty is going to be the same thing. I mean, we had 10 penalties for 111 yards.
And a lot of those were 15-yard
A lot
rides.
of those were, that's right. And it's not a lot of procedural stuff. It's a lot of that in-your-own-head kind of thing that people run into. And I think they've got to shore that up too so that doesn't become something else people can use. Because a 15-yard penalty at the wrong moment in a tight game, when you're playing for the SEC West lead or the Iron Bowl or something like that, it'll swing it in the other way, and there's nothing you can do to take that back.
Right. Now, especially if you're playing in the Iron Bowl, you know Auburn's going to try to get under your skin. Tennessee is going to try to get under your skin. Now, granted, the Auburn game is in Tuscaloosa, so you're going to have the fans on your side. That's going to be a little bit easier to play. But when you play athletics, if you've ever played athletics, if you ever play a true like high school collegiate sport. I've never played a collegiate sport, but I have played high school sports, and I think Adam has too. When you play under emotion, that usually dies about the second quarter, second period, and the rest of it you have to play on skill. So if you're coming out there really amped up, that might be a problem. And these young kids, Saban's going to have to get them by the throat, quote unquote, and start playing with them. So let's really get into the meat of the game here.
Yeah.
The first thing that I want to talk about, Jalen versus Tua. We've got to. Were you surprised to see Tua trot out with the first team?
No, I wasn't at all. I know we had talked in the past that they trot him out just to either placate him and say, okay, you're the starter, congratulations, or just to throw off Louisville a little bit. But when we won the toss and decided to receive, and then Tua comes out, that's Saban looking across at Petrino and saying, I'm coming at you with everything I've got from the opening kick. And, I mean, we're going to throw our guy out there that can really hurt you, and we're going to take the ball, and we're not even worried about whether we get it to start the second half or not. It kind of felt really bold to me to do that. But I think overall I'm not, and especially wasn't, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but especially wasn't after you see what happened later on in the first half.
Right. I'll tell you, we'll bring that up. Adams, this is 2 weeks in a row where Adams jumped the gun on me.
I just get so excited.
He does. But so what the part I really want to harp on, first off, I thought it was going to be Jalen just to say, all right, guys, shut up. He's the older guy. We're going to start Jalen. There you go. We see he can't do anything. All right, come on, Tua. Let's do your thing. I thought it was going to be, hey, look at what I've done. You thought I was going to start Tua? Ha ha! Not really. That's a typical Nick Saban thing. But then, so here's the other thing. You have to be happy for the kid. Tua is a great young man. I don't know if you've seen the article. They took a picture of when Tua's parents found out that he was the starter. They're crying. I mean, that's a true family kid. That family, I couldn't be more happy that they are an Alabama family now. I mean, granted, they were UCA or USC fans, so welcome aboard the real nation of domination. Wrestling, there you go. I had to bring it in.
Check that box for the
Check
show.
the box
All right.
for the week. There you go. CJ, I brought my wrestling up for the week. Hey, here we go. It's a wrestling podcast now. Welcome aboard the real nation of domination. But as a talent, you can't deny that Tua is the better quarterback. I posted on Twitter on Saturday. The first 3 drives were all Tua led. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And all 3 different ways. The next 2 drives were Jalen led. Punt, punt.
Yeah. And honestly, in the stands, you have Tua come out. You have him show off like he did, even show off with his feet, scoring one of those touchdowns himself. And then when Jalen came in, it was almost like the air got sucked out of the stadium a little bit. Not in a bad way, but just in the way that everybody's like, all right, we finally have this settled. We're moving forward. This is no longer a question. And then in comes Jalen, and it's like, okay, is this still a question? You know, I figured he would come out second half when we were up big, like at least 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. But for it to still be the first half, we just had 3 successful drives. Why would we start to do something that would slow us down now?
Right.
That was the big question I had about it. I don't think the timing made sense. I think it probably did for Saban in some way. Again, probably to what you said, Dave. All right, we did it 3 times. Now watch what Jalen does. Oh, he didn't do it twice. Can we get back to our regular scheduled programming now?
Right.
So I don't know what was going on the sideline or in Saban's head, but I expected to see him later, more of like a second string kind of backup for Tua. But hey, it is what it is. And the question at this point is clearly answered. I don't think there's anybody else that would say that Jalen should be the...
Don't question it, because we're going to bring that up after the break.
Yeah.
Don't question it, because you know how that's going to go.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I do want to... So, even though Saban says there's still a competition, when you need to score a touchdown, when Alabama got the ball back with 30, 45 seconds left to go in the first half, who comes in and trots in a quarterback? It's Tua, who does exactly what we thought he would do, drive the field, do a perfect 1-minute drive, and a touchdown. Alabama goes in dominating into the half, and Louisville comes out deflated. When you want Jalen to be the quarterback, you go in, you have to do some options, some run plays, but in order for that to work, Jalen has to be able to pass the ball. The first pass that happens, he throws too hard to the running back, and the running back can't handle it.
Yeah.
And then they try to do a downfield pass. Now, if Ben was here, he would defend Jalen and say that Jalen it was not Jalen's fault. I'm sorry, Ben, you're not here to defend this, but the ball was 5 yards behind the receiver.
Yeah.
If Tua was in the game, Tua would have planted it and thrown it over the receiver's shoulder where he could catch it. Now, the one thing Jalen did right was that stop-and-go pattern where he threw it to a spot, and I think it was Judy came back and almost pushed off, but then turned around and caught the ball. That's a great timing play, but it was about a 10-yard pass.
Yeah.
If you want teams to respect Alabama, to respect the run, and also respect the pass, Jalen is not your guy.
Yeah, and I think that long throw they tried to do was towards us. We were sitting in the end zone that they were going to in that one, and you could see the play start to develop. But it's like we said last year, man. We saw it in Mississippi State. We saw it in the Iron Bowl. We saw it in the first half against Georgia. He held on to it about 3/4 of a second to a second too long. And for our receivers, that's a significant number of yards further down the field than they were before. And so you run out of room to make a play when you hang on to it like that. And it's just that quick decision making, that edge, that being able to see what's developing in front of you and know what to do. It's like Jalen is still to this day doubting himself. in those kind of situations. And at the end of the day, that's something he's going to have to shore up if he wants to significantly contribute.
Yeah, we talked about it before we were recording. We did kind of our pre-show picks, our pre-show talk here before we were recording, and we both said it's the yips. The best thing I can bring up is it's like Sergio Garcia in golf. Sergio was supposed to be the heir apparent to Tiger. He was challenging Tiger. He was doing everything he could to be on par with Tiger. Then all of a sudden, something got in his own head, and it's the yips.
Yep.
You brought up Kent Mercker for the Braves.
Mark Wohlers.
Mark Wohlers.
Yeah.
Wohlers. One of the best closers in the late 90s or mid 90s for the Braves. But as soon as something happened, he couldn't throw strikes. I'll bring up another example in baseball, Rick Ankiel.
Yeah.
He had a small injury, could throw what seemed like 150 miles an hour. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But as soon as something got in his head, couldn't throw strikes anymore. The Braves know about that because Ankiel played for the Braves for a little bit. I think something is going on in Jalen's head. He's got the yips. He doesn't have that same swagger anymore on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know he's buying in a little bit to the drama because of his comments in the spring. And we know his parents are both in his ear. And so this guy's not only, this kid really, guys, or guy, because Ben's not here. This kid really is sitting here thinking about classes and football, and we've seen the thick binders they use for prep, so he's got a buttload of stuff to read for that. But then his parents are in his ear, and he's like, if I do transfer, where should I go? Who knows what kind of conversations are happening behind the scenes with that? And it's just, he's got so much to deal with on his plate right now. And yeah, you can say that, welcome to the big time, kid. You play for Alabama, you better expect this stuff. But at the end of the day, he's still a kid.
Well, and he's a coach's kid too.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I think for him, he either needs to find a place and a role on the team and contribute, or find somewhere where he can. Because it worked for Blake Barnett, right? He was throwing all over the place for USF this weekend.
Blake looked good.
Right?
He looked good.
He found a home. Alabama just wasn't it. And I know a lot of people say, and we'll talk this later, but I know a lot of people say he's 26-2. He got you there. Yeah, he got you there, but to continue to be the starter, you have to perform.
Well, let's dissect that a little bit.
Yeah.
He's 26-2 as a starter. Great. But in order for him to be there, what was Alabama's best aspect last year? Defense.
Yeah.
It wasn't Jalen winning games.
Yeah.
I would say maybe one or two of those games last year, Jalen won for Alabama.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, it was the defense winning games.
It doesn't feel, and I know a lot of people are probably going to run off the road if you're listening to this while you drive. Prep yourself. And Dave, I'm interested to see the look on your face. I don't feel that much different when Jalen's in the game right now than I did when Blake Sims was in the game. It feels like we have someone who is hard to tackle. We have someone who understands the offense enough to run it, but when it comes to making that pass, it's just not there.
I'm sorry. You just defamed the good name of Big Hero 6 on Disney property. Adam Russell.
I was never a fan. I'm sorry. I was never a fan.
That was Big Hero 6. Come on, man.
Blake Sims, 93144 Blitz. If you're listening, tell me how you feel about that.
Hey, Blake Sims will probably be one of the quarterbacks for the new AAF team in Birmingham. So he might be coming down here to Orlando to play. We'll see. But I tend to almost agree with you. Blake Sims was a winner. He was kind of a stopgap between quarterbacks. Coker was supposed to be the quarterback that year, but Blake Sims did what Jalen did when Blake Barnett was supposed to be the starting quarterback. But I don't know. I see a difference in Jalen and Blake Sims because Sims had that eye of the tiger all the time. He led by emotion. Jalen had the eye of the tiger, but like I said, the yips set in.
Yeah.
And I just
don't see either one of them when it comes to. I think about that same pass that we were just talking about, that same play in the Louisville game. When it comes to you're looking downfield, the play has developed within 2.5 seconds. It's time to make a decision. But you're standing there with time kind of bouncing up and down, patting the ball, not really throwing it or doing anything with it. It's like that smart decision-making that we see out of Tua.
Right.
I don't see it in Jalen, and I didn't see it in Blake Sims. I think we were just so much better with Blake that we could win and not have to have a Tua-style quarterback. But I mean, and I know you think Miami's overrated, Dave, but when LSU's beating Miami and Auburn's beating Washington, the guy who's 26-2 but has kind of got some problems right now isn't the one who's going to get it done anymore, because everybody's rising up to meet you. We have to have Tua. So, sorry, Jalen.
I mean, I understand it's Tua. Tua's the guy you're going to have to play with. I think I know the old adage of dance with what brung you, but I'm sorry, when you dance with what brung you and the better option is staring you right in the face, you're going to do something bad.
Well, and it's not like they say dance with the one that brung you, and it's not like we're upgrading to the blonde for the brunette, right? Oh, I don't want to dance with you anymore. It's literally like your partner forgot how to dance and is stepping on your feet. But then here comes somebody who has taught ballroom before. You're like, I think I'm going to go dance with the one who's not going to step on my feet now so that we can win. Thank you. That's what it feels like.
Blair Russell, 931-44 Blitz. If you are a bad dancer, I want you to call into the show.
She is not. She is not. I will vouch for her right here in front of a national audience, quotes, national in air quotes. I will vouch for her that she is not a bad dancer.
Okay. Well, you know what will make you not a better dancer? Well, no. Rue Sports won't make you a better dancer, but Rue Sports will make you a better runner.
You know what? That might be a use case for Rue Sports, though, that they haven't thought about, is wear your pouch while you're dancing.
Well, I mean, you can wear your pouch for other options.
Sure.
Of course, we talk about running here. We're using the Rue Sport. In fact, as I look out the window of this resort that I'm in right now, I see a spot that Adam and I ran by during our half marathon that we're also going to run by in February when we do our Princess half marathon. Hey, there's no shame in our game. No. We're going to run the Princess half marathon.
It's all about the Disney bling.
Right, exactly.
I was running past this very spot with my Rue Sport. Dave still didn't at this point. This was like mile 10.
No, mile 10 is Hollywood Studio. This was probably
like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And Dave still had no idea that I was even using it. So it was a shock. That's how discreet it is and how well it works for everybody. But yeah, so dancing, we had running, biking, hiking,
going on
even
vacation,
traveling, going on vacation. Now we can add dancing to that.
Yeah.
So we might have to update the pre-podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there you go, Rue Sport. We just gave you a new one, so you're welcome. No, but no, thinking about the February when I'm about to start training, we're
October,
all about
I think
to start prepping, a few months in advance, and knowing that you have the gear that you need to just put stuff in it, step out the door, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
It's really helpful to not have to feel like, oh, I really don't want to go do this because this belt is so uncomfortable or these water bottles are so heavy. It's exactly what you need. You just take what you want and you go.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, they don't have just belts. They've got other options you can use. They've got the battery packs, the little small battery pack you can hook up to your phone. So if you're going on a long run and listening to music, I know my phone's only about a year old, but it still drains batteries. When I'm here in the theme park, I've got a huge, bulky battery pack that I don't want to take when I'm running. Rue Sport has a great little battery pack that you can use. And they also, one thing that I'm about to order when I get back home is that Rue Sport Lounger.
Yeah. We
talked about it last week. It's great for tailgating. Ben brought up a great point. It's probably great for these festivals and these concert stuff that he goes to. I don't know what he's into when it comes to all those musics. But, Ben's into all these good festivals and Bonnaroo and This-a-roo and
That-a-roo.
That-a-roo and
That-a-roo Sport.
That-a-roo Sport.
So
It fits perfectly. But no, the Hangout Festival, Ben's going to kill us when he gets back.
He is.
But Rue Sports has done something great for us. They've given our fans, our listeners, a discount code, and it's Sideline 30. That's all lowercase, Sideline the word, and then 30 the number, 30. That gives you 30% off of anything you order. That's those pouches, those battery packs, those Rue Loungers, anything on their website. Just use that Sideline 30 code at checkout, and you get 30% off of anything. And that's something they didn't have to do, and I appreciate the guys at Rue Sport doing that. That's awesome of them. But guys, we can't talk about Rue Sport enough. But we have to talk about some other sports stuff. We kind of brought it up a little bit earlier, where Nick Saban and Maria Taylor. Adam, you probably didn't hear this till afterwards.
I did not.
Of course, because you were at the game. What was your thoughts on said interview?
So Maria Taylor goes up and asks Nick Saban if the quarterback controversy is settled, right? I mean, that was the gist of the question, and I think that Nick's response of, you're trying to get me to say something to disrespect Jalen, well, I'm not going to, so stop. I think overall it's a non-story. We've seen, as you're going to talk about in a second, we've seen other Alabama coaches do the same thing. For me, it's a non-story, but I will say we don't know what Maria Taylor asked Nick Saban in the pregame.
Right.
We don't know what Maria Taylor asked Nick Saban in a phone call they might have had 2 weeks ago. We don't know how much she's harped on him. So this might have been the 165th time that she's trying to do this, and I think that it's just Nick not getting tired of the question more than he's sensitive to the fact that everything he says, unlike some public figures we know right now in America, every word he says means something.
Right.
And if he says the wrong thing just as he's running off the field at the end of the game to Maria Taylor, ESPN will turn it into Nick Saban thinks Jalen Hurts is a loser and Jalen needs a transfer, and then Stephen A. Smith and all these other talking heads on ESPN who have to fill their day with something will turn it into a story that just lasts, and then he's lost Jalen. He might be trying to do something that we don't even know about.
Right.
And I think for me, we don't know what questions were asked of him by Maria Taylor or anybody else before that. So I don't have a problem with his answer personally, because we don't know the whole story.
You also bring up a point that, ESPN is going to make a story if he says something. Well, they made a story out of nothing here.
Exactly.
I mean, listen to Paul Feinbaum's responses. Paul, you were a Nick Saban guy. When Nick Saban came here, you were one of the few guys that actually has a rapport with him. And then you go off and say something stupid like that.
We all know Nick is this way. So we can drop his perspective.
Okay.
He's an ESPN employee now, and he's fully acting like one, right? So for me, it comes down to the fact that, look, how many times had he been asked this question? And he knows it's going to mean something when he does say something, so he's just trying to stay away from it. I'd be irritated too.
Yeah.
But.
So I'm going to try to play the Maria Taylor clip real quick. So I'm pulling this up on YouTube. So if this doesn't work, I hope Adam can edit this out in a little bit. But we'll see if this works first when I play this.
Did you have about your quarterbacks after watching both of them play tonight?
I still like both guys. I think both guys are good players. I think both guys can help our team. All right, so why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to, so quit asking.
Okay, first off, there's nothing, I agree with you, Adam, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've seen Nick Saban go off millions of times now. So why in the world do you expect it to be different now?
Because how do we know what's going on in the background from the media perspective, like we already talked, but how do we also know what he's trying to do? You trot Jalen out, you give him a couple of series, okay, you see it didn't work out, but he's trying to find a way for Jalen to not play as quarterback. The word he used was contribute.
Right.
He still believes that Jalen has a role on the team, and I think they're trying to find out what that is.
Right.
We've seen players before that started in a certain position that shone and did great, and then an injury or a setback on the field or a couple of bad games, and then all of a sudden they figure out that they're actually better in a different position or a different role on the team. I think that he's still trying to figure that out. So I think we ought to give him the opportunity to do it and stop pestering him about it. I mean, I would love for Maria Taylor to go walk over to Bobby Petrino and say, hey, how many answers do you have about your team and that your team stinks more than Alabama does?
Right.
Because she's basically baiting him to come out and say, oh, Tua is definitely better than Jalen or something like that. So they have a story to come out with.
Right.
And it's a tired game. It's fake news.
Yeah, they're basically, I hate saying fake news because we're not a political podcast,
Right.
But I mean, basically they're trying to get Nick Saban, who is a media master. Let's go ahead and call it what it is. Nick Saban is a master at how he handles the media. And they're trying to get Nick Saban to trip up. I'm sorry, Nick Saban is too smart for you, Maria Taylor. Now, here's another thing, and I hate to talk about this. I hate to bring this up. Is this going to turn into a race thing?
I hope not. I hope not. And I hope it doesn't turn into a female reporter and a male coach kind of thing either, because she's out there on the field. She asked the question, and when he answered it, all she had to say was, I hear you. And all she's tweeted since then was, hey, I'm just doing my job. Like, I think everybody else is trying to turn it into something, because they've tried several different ways in the preseason this year. And they do it before the season every year. But they've tried several different ways in the preseason this year to try to hook Alabama or Saban for something.
Right.
And find something wrong with what he's doing. And I think this is just a continuation of that. He answered the question and moved on. He's not still talking about it. He answered the question and she said, okay, I hear you. And then tweeted later, I'm just doing my job and I'm on to the next game. Everybody else is making a big deal out of this, other than the two people it happened to. So everybody else, except for you and me, because we're on their side, everybody else needs to just get a life and move on from this and focus on football.
Right.
Because what ESPN has started to do to sports is now everything's about everything else except what happens in the four quarters between the hash marks and the end zones. It's about the people on the sidelines and who they're talking to and what they're doing and what they said after. It's not about that.
Right.
It's not about that other stuff. And the more you try to make it about that other stuff, the more people are going to get frustrated by it. And I think that's what this is turning into with Nick.
Yeah. So y'all heard me trying to find this in the background. I'm sorry. I thought my phone was muted. But this is a little longer clip. And this is another famous Alabama coach that the media respected.
Here is Ann Simon with Coach Paul Bryant.
Of course, this man needs no introduction. Coach Paul Bear Bryant. Both Keith Jackson and Frank Boyles were wondering during the broadcast why you elected to go with Ken Coley at quarterback instead of Walter Lewis.
Trying to win the game. Everything I do is trying to win the game.
No reason for it, just for that.
I'm trying to win the game.
Now, what about
I don't have to apologize for who I play. I'm trying to win the game.
what about the turnover situation? There was a turnover there that
Turnover
really.
cost us 2 touchdowns.
And what you elect to do in the second half that may change that? You're having problems with turnovers all year long.
Well, we sure have, and we're going to try to not turn over this time. We're going to try to receive the football, take it for touchdown.
All right, Coach, thank you. Of course, Paul Bear Bryant is a man of very few words, but when you're in his shoes, our actions speak louder than words, I think.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So first off, if anybody had talked like that in the morning, or in the morning, in this era, we'd have a lot of words.
Oh my gosh. But it's the same thing. It's a quarterback controversy at Alabama. Imagine that.
I know,
and they're
right?
questioning why he chose one over the other. It's just incredible.
You're trying to win games. That's the long and the short of it. I'm trying to win games. And Nick Saban did a better job than Bear did there. Bear hated the media. I think there's a famous quote when a longtime Alabama beat writer died, and a guy called and said, "Hey Bear, do you want to pay to help with these guys' funerals? We're going to get flowers or something like that." And Bear said, "Here's 20. Buried 2 of them." So one, Alabama has never had a coach that respects the media. 2, I think that the long and the short of it is both these guys are trying to win football games. And who are we to question how they do it? Now, okay, we're in a millennialist era of how kids are handled and coddled and helicopter parents and blah, 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 blah. But come on, this is much ado about nothing.
It is absolutely. I think at the end of the day, this is the problem. And I know that we are part of this. I'm going to be very careful how I say my point next. But when you have 24 hours of sports programming to fill on 3-4 separate channels now, and you have what Tim Brando was griping about with all these people in the media, which we'll talk about another time. But there's people like us that actually enjoy this. We actually enjoy getting down into not necessarily the details of the X's and O's, but the whys and the hows, and we just like just talking about what's going on.
Right.
But we don't have 24 hours to fill. We have an hour and a half a week.
At least.
At least.
At
Well,
most,
it depends
actually.
on if Dave gets on a rant about Urban Meyer. we have an hour and a half a week, and so we have fun and we talk about it and we enjoy it. When you've got 24 hours times 4 channels to fill, you have to find a story somewhere.
Right.
And both Bear, back before they had all this time to fill, but both Bear and Nick just win. And they do. And they're not on a hot seat, so there's no story there. There's no controversy with the coaching staff doing anything bad, so there's nothing there. Nick Saban hasn't covered anything up like Urban Meyer has, so there's nothing there. And so they have to find a story wherever they can, because Alabama's the hot topic right now. And if the hot topic just is continually, well, they won again, everybody just shrugs and moves on. So they try to make a story. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's even more. As Christians, we are taught to forgive and forget. Okay, Nick Saban said, "I'm sorry." Forget. End of story. Move on. But here we are. It's still being talked about. And I think Adam's sideline warning is going to bring up a little bit into still being talked about. Yeah. It's dumb. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, and we'll close out with this. I do have to say, when we talked about what we were going to do with our media passes for the game, one of the jokes that we shared with each other is that Ben should go down to the presser and raise his hand and say, Hey, Ben Foster from Sideline Warning. How do you feel like the quarterback controversy has been settled now that you've seen them both on the field? I am glad that we did not ask that question.
We would have had our media credentials revoked.
Wow.
And would have never had a shot to get any more.
Yeah, we don't have the big 600-pound gorilla of ESPN to say, no, give me another one next week. We would have lost out on that one. So
we would have never been around. Okay, so there's our hot takes for the week. We've got Adam and I are going to do our picks right now. I'm trying to get Ben to send me his picks. Adam, do you by any chance on your spreadsheet have how we did last week?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay,
it's
so
Labor Day weekend.
Your spreadsheet didn't work as well as my handwriting?
I just haven't updated it yet. Do you have them then?
Well, I've been on vacation, man.
Oh, wait a minute. Now, so neither of us have
You're home. I'm on vacation.
It's Labor Day weekend for everybody, not just those who come down here to the House of Mouse. We'll have updates next week, folks, on how we're doing with picks.
Okay.
He's crying over here. You should see him in person. It's fantastic. Right?
You're horrible. All right. So Ben is normally our pick guy, but since Ben's not here, he thinks he can take a vacation from the podcast. But since Ben's not here, I'm going to start, and I'll be the pick guru. So we're going to start. It's a 12 o'clock kickoff. Kansas State is playing host to number 18, Mississippi State. Adam, how's this one going to go?
I don't know. Kansas State, I'm not going to pick Kansas State. You're looking at me like apprehensive.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick them. But this is one of those where I think they're not a pushover team. They're not a cupcake. Kansas State has been able to hold their own in plenty of games like this before. I just don't think in this case that it'll hold up. I think Mississippi State ends up winning the game. But I think it'll be a good just test to see if they're ready for a team that could actually hold their own.
Okay. So I have no easy way of combating with you because I'm picking Mississippi State, but I don't have that tension of picking Mississippi State because keep in mind Nick Fitzgerald did not play in that route against SF Austin or SF whatever, the small school. So we're going to finally see a healthy Nick Fitzgerald taking the realm of a Joe Moorhead offense. I think Mississippi State will win in a rout.
I still think Joe Moorhead's better suited as a high school science teacher, but he just reminds me. We talked about that with Media Day.
I know.
He reminds me of a high school science teacher. I still just don't see it there, but hey.
Remind me to tell you a joke off air about high school and that name.
Okay.
So also at noon Eastern, since I'm in an Eastern time zone, I'm saying things.
Wow.
I know, right?
He adjusted quickly.
By the way, I hate watching the game at 8 o'clock at night. I said the same thing to you a couple years ago when I was down here watching the Ole Miss Alabama game starting at 3:30. We didn't get out of the Alabama Alumni Bar until 8 o'clock. My entire day was gone. So at noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central in the better time zone, Nevada is on the road at Vanderbilt. How do you see that one going?
I see this one going about as well as the ticket prices listed on ESPN's website says. It says Nevada at Vanderbilt at noon on SEC Network. 2,066 tickets are available as low as $3. Who cares? But I think Vanderbilt will win.
Okay, yeah, I have no analysis. Vanderbilt's going to win. All right, at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, on CBS. It's going to be the first CBS Sports SEC game. South Carolina is playing host to number 3 Georgia. Both these teams looked good last week.
They did.
What do you see?
This is the first one I think where Georgia could potentially trip up. I just can't see South Carolina doing it. I don't have a lot of faith in a team that's led by Will Muschamp to be able to beat a team that's led by Kirby Smart. So I think Georgia's going to win.
Both these guys are Nick Saban disciples. They both learned how to coach defense under Nick Saban. I'm a Georgia guy. You know that. You heard me last year being a big Georgia fan. Of course, I'm a Bama fan. But you heard me last year saying I'm excited about this Georgia team. I'm still liking this Georgia team. Upset. I'm picking the South Carolina Gamecocks. In a close game, but I'm picking South Carolina.
Okay.
The next 3:30 game is Alabama and Arkansas playing host to Arkansas State. We'll pick that one at the end. The next game is Southern Illinois versus the Fighting Sharks of Ole Miss at home on the SEC Network at 3 o'clock. What do you see, Adam?
Ole Miss. I mean, and I don't even know there's really much to talk about in this game. It's still your standard preseason tune-up. I don't think Southern Illinois can bring much to it. I think Ole Miss will look like they did last week pretty much against Texas Tech, if not more.
Yeah, Ole Miss is a good team this year. They're not eligible for postseason, not eligible for an SEC championship. They won't beat Alabama. They won't beat the big dogs of the SEC. But Ole Miss is a good team. Don't sleep on them.
Yep.
I think Ole Miss is going to score in the 60s in this game. It's
Yeah.
my BLT college football team is going to look great. Y'all laughed at me for picking Ole Miss as my quarterback and wide receiver, but
did.
you saw last week why I did. Ole Miss wins in a rout. Next game is at this is two SEC Network games, both at 3 o'clock Central. East Tennessee State, home of Ryan and Catron.
Really?
From the I Am Geek radio podcast, plays host or goes on the road to play their other fandom, Tennessee.
How do you reconcile that?
I know. Ryan, Catron, can you tell me who you're going to root for?
I would just turn the TV off.
Yeah. Can Tennessee make the SEC proud and get a win finally?
Finally, yeah. I mean, East Tennessee State's not West Virginia. So, yeah, I think this will be Pruitt's first win, and what a glorious win it will be over East Tennessee State.
Congratulations, guys. You get a win. Go puke orange. Next is going to be at Death Valley, under the lights. 6 o'clock.
This one's at Kyle Field, right?
Is it?
It's at Texas A&M.
No, wrong Death Valley.
Wrong Death Valley.
Yes.
My bad.
The Death Valley that's in Louisiana.
Sorry.
LSU plays host to Directional Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana. Do the Fighting O's have a shot?
No. LSU.
The Fighting O's. Ogeron.
Oh, then yes, they do. The Fighting O's. I've never heard that before. Yeah. LSU will take it.
Yeah.
We're off beat a little bit right now, man.
I know.
Throwing me off.
We're not on
What is
Skype.
going
We're
on
actually
right now?
face to face. This is a little weird. And I'm doing the picks, not
The
Ben.
Fighting O's. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, did you want me to
play
football?
I love it.
Yeah.
No, LSU's got this one covered.
LSU wins in a rout. I don't think the only one we've picked differently is I've picked South Carolina, you've picked Georgia.
Yeah.
Logan will not be happy with me. Sorry, Logan.
Yeah.
All right. Also at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU, Wyoming goes on the road to Missouri. Any surprise here?
No. Missouri.
Yeah, I got Missouri too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now the other Death Valley,
The one I was thinking
the other
of
one you were
before.
thinking of,
Yeah.
also at 6 o'clock on ESPN, Clemson goes to Kyle Field to take on Texas A&M. Does Clemson slip? Texas A&M looked really good.
If what I've heard is true and Clemson's going to play two quarterbacks, yes, Texas A&M will win because the two quarterback system never works. If you try to stick to it, you let somebody in for a couple of plays or a couple of series, whatever. But it sounds like what I've heard at least, and that might change, that they're going to go with true 2 QB system. Not going to work. Texas A&M will take it.
The 2 quarterback system doesn't work, eh?
No, it doesn't. Go ahead and give me your argument against that, please.
Florida, Tim Tebow, and I'll forget the guy's name.
Exactly.
But
it was
Tebow,
a one quarterback
no, it
system.
was 2.
No.
The other guy started, but Tebow came in on the goal line. They won the national championship that year.
Okay.
2000.
So you basically had a one quarterback and a fullback who could also pass system. That's not 2 QBs.
2 guys at QB.
It's not 2 QBs.
Okay, so you're
It
picking.
might as well have been the Wildcat when Tebow was in there.
Okay,
It's
so
just a fullback instead of a running back.
Who are you picking?
Anyway, Texas A&M.
You're picking Texas A&M or Clemson.
I'm picking A&M over Clemson.
That would be a huge upset and a great start for the Jimbo Fisher era. And something you have to think about. Jimbo knows how to coach against Clemson.
Yep.
Jimbo never really beat Dabo. So I'm going to pick Clemson.
Okay.
There you go. That's our second
right.
against each other. On the CBS Sports Network, Arkansas goes on the road to Colorado State. Arkansas, what are you doing, man? Does Arkansas lose this game?
Oh, no. Arkansas will win this game, but their scheduling department loses for doing a home and home. Is it a home and home?
Yeah, it's a home and home. They had
No,
Colorado
that's-
State last year.
The losers there are the people who work in the scheduling department.
Yeah, Arkansas wins, but Arkansas really loses. Arkansas will win the game, but lose out in the money department.
Yep.
The Fighting Plainsmen, Fighting Eagles, Fighting Tigers, Auburn Tigers, whatever you want to call them this week, on the SEC network play Alabama State. Not even the best in the SWAC. How bad does Auburn win? Do they score 100?
Oh, no, because eventually they got to put their second and third string.
And let's also look at it. How much weight did Gus Malzahn gain over the offseason?
It's like the next Lane Kiffin.
Gus Malzahn must have been hanging out with that fat basketball coach, Bruce Pearl. Yes, I brought it up!
You did. You fit it in. Congratulations.
The Auburn route.
Oh, yeah.
Auburn route. All right, the other all-SEC team in the East, Kentucky goes on the road to Florida. Does Dan Mullen lose his first SEC game in Gainesville?
Not a chance.
I like Kentucky. That little running back's a good team.
Uh-oh.
Good running back. It's going to be close, but Florida wins. Dan Mullen's a good coach.
So closer than the experts think. That's
closer than the pundits think. Wait, am I a pundit now that I have a
you
podcast?
Are. Technically, yes. Well, Tim Brando gave you legitimacy by saying that we were part of the media, so yes.
Okay, so we're part
he legitimized
of
us.
Well, we were credentialed media this week.
Yeah, so you're a pundit.
We're a pundit now.
But you're not a talking head. You're just a voice because you're on a podcast.
I'm the golden voice.
Okay.
The golden voice of the Southeast.
Okay.
Okay. So the last one we've got to pick. This is the big one. Alabama's first official home game against Arkansas State.
I think a lot of this one's going to have to do with how Tua does coming out after all of the drama and controversy of how him and Jalen performed so evenly against Louisville. I know he's got to be doubting himself. And I think that if he can come out against a really tough Arkansas State defense and hopefully shine a little bit more than Jalen this time, we might win this one by, 6 or 7 touchdowns.
Give me a point.
Oh, points. I say it would probably be really similar to the Louisville score. I would say 63-7.
That's funny because that's the exact score I was thinking.
Really?
We didn't even talk about that before.
We did not, I promise.
The 7 comes in, fourth string defense comes in.
Yeah.
It's going to be 63-7. You're going to see Mac Jones throw. That's something I can't wait to see.
So do they cycle through to Jalen?
Jalen starts.
Before they get to Mac? You think Jalen starts?
Jalen starts.
Okay.
You'll get to see them trot out Jalen. I think Jalen starts this game kind of let's see how you do as the starting quarterback versus how Tua did.
I revise my score then. We can't score 63 if Jalen
starts. No, it's going to be that 3 drive, which 3 and out will be quicker than Tua.
Okay.
It's going to swing back and forth.
Got it. Okay.
But still 63-7.
Yeah.
It's we might even see Baby Barker. Yeah, who's a walk-on, not even a scholarship quarterback.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, so I say 63-7. There's our picks. Hey, before we get into sideline warnings, Ben's not here.
Ben,
Bueller. Adam, how can they get a hold of our show and tell us their takes?
Yeah, 931-44-BLITZ. Just give that a call on your phone. Spell out BLITZ on the keypad. It's a Google Voice account we've set up. Leave a voicemail there. We'll play it on the show. We'll give you our takes. We'll answer a question if it's a question you've got. If nothing else, you just want to sound off on something or somebody, like I believe the city of Cleveland did the other day to us, then just sound off on it. Just give us a call, 931-44-BLITZ.
Cool. All right. Well, there's our picks. There's our takes. Adam, hit them with your sideline warning.
So we talked the quarterback, quote-unquote, controversy after the Louisville game. And Jalen Rose on Get Up, which I still have a problem with on ESPN, shared what he would do if he were Jalen Hurts. Because he says in the quote is, Tua is clearly the better prospect and reminds me of Steve Young, but I don't like to see a Jalen hurt. Because they share the same name.
Yes.
I have some advice for the young fella. Number 1, don't let them put you out there for 4 games. Don't allow them to cost you a year of eligibility, redshirt, graduate, and then transfer. Which I don't think is entirely bad advice from someone who's played sports to another athlete. But of course he didn't stop. It is disrespect in your mind as a player when I've led you to 2 national championship games and I've only lost 2 games. I'm a young prospect, and not only have you replaced me, but you've also put his brother in the pipeline, talking about Tua's brother. And it's a relationship business. You came into my living room and told me all the great things I was going to be able to do for the program, and now I'm benched. And I would say yes, Jalen, because I know you're listening too. I know that Nick makes all you guys listen to us every week. But you've done great things. 26-2 is no doubt a fantastic record. And you led us to national championships and won a national championship. But after the Mississippi State game last year, after the Iron Bowl last year, something absolutely changed in the approach, the decision-making, the mindset, like we talked earlier. And it's not a disrespect to him to say, I'm benching you for this other guy. If Tua was moderately better or about the same as Jalen, and it was just like a relationship thing where he, kissed up to Nick Saban more and won the job, I would say, yeah, it's disrespectful to him. But he knows his performance on the field hasn't been great. He was 26-2 as a starter, and if we hadn't replaced him in the second half with Tua, he would have been 26-3. And 2 of those games were what, Dave? Can you tell me what 2 of those games were?
National championships?
Yes, and that's where the rubber meets the road. So, yeah, can he help us win in the SEC? Absolutely. But is he also the reason that we're out one SEC championship and almost 2 national championships along the way? Yes.
Yes.
So when someone else comes in and they perform significantly better, the real world states that you just suck it up and you make the right decision for you, which is why I'm fine with Jalen Rose's original set of feedback. If he wants to redshirt and say, I'll play a little bit just to get some reps under my belt, but I'm not going to waste a whole time, so be it. But we can't tell him that he's got to completely just give up on this because of disrespect. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, Adam, I totally agree. I think that Jalen Rose his first statement was okay, but then when you go on and encourage Jalen to transfer, that's kind of out of place. I think that he kind of overstepped his bounds as a talking head, a pundit. You don't talk to a college student and say, go against the quote-unquote people. I mean, that you don't tell him to go and disrespect his coach. That's a line you do not cross.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, and that's 2 dads talking with their kids in the room. So you don't tell somebody to disrespect an authority. But here's my sideline warning. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about bulletin board material. And not only did the Louisville players give Alabama sideline or bulletin board material, Bobby Petrino gave bulletin board material by saying, hey, we're going to come out and beat Alabama. I've got no doubt in my mind. Okay, Bobby Petrino, I understand you're trying to psych yourself up, trying to psych your team up. But if you truly believe that, then have yourself ready and don't have 4 procedural penalties that were your fault. You had 12 men in the huddle, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. And 4 times is stupid. If Nick Saban had that mistake, Alabama would be losing their mind because Nick Saban doesn't normally do stuff like that. And Bobby Petrino is probably a reckless head coach. We know that. But I think he went to the school of Les Miles' style of coaching. So, Bobby Petrino, my sideline warning goes to you. Next time you decide to talk in the media, have your mind right and just be prepared to play the team across from you. Because it looked to me like you and the Cardinals belong here at Disney World. Adam, what is that wonderful saying here at Alabama's Nick Saban's Haunted Mansion?
That's right. They said there's always room for one more. And there was room for one more in Nick Saban's Haunted Mansion, too. So thanks, Bobby.
There are 99 Alabama wins, but there's always room for a Cardinal. And that Cardinal, you are welcomed into the haunted house of Nick Saban and Alabama lore. All right, there you go. There is our show for this week. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at SW The Show. I am at DAdams419. Ben, even though he's in Rome, you can still tweet at him. He is at TheBenFoster. Adam, have you got Tony the Shark to come and comment to you yet?
No, believe it or not. I'm still working on it.
Well, I've only seen one of your tweets.
Well, I've had 2. The last one was really good, and I'm surprised that he didn't, but I'm going to keep it up.
I will say this. Were you the one that did the NWO belt?
No.
Ben, actually? That was Ben?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that should have been the Tony. That's where Tony the Shark would have. If you hadn't seen our Twitter, look at you'll see the Ole Miss guys holding up their NWO belt, the nasty wide receivers with attitude or something like that. And they said this is when at DAdams419 becomes an Ole Miss fan. I was driving to Atlanta and I about swerved off the road and my wife got mad at me because I was laughing so hard at that tweet. So Adam is at Run Tide Run. He's still trying to get Tony the Shark. He's trying to bait him in and
see what you did
hook,
there.
line, and sinker to bait him in. But anyway, follow us on Instagram at SW The Show there as well. And then you can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Sideline Warning, or we are also you can join the Facebook fan group, Sideline Warning Facebook fan group as well. Guys, next week we'll be back to our regularly scheduled Skyping interviews. Adam will be here in Orlando. I don't even know when Ben's getting back, but Ben will be back in Birmingham. I'll be back in Huntsville. We will have it set up normally. But guys, as always, we love you. We'll talk to you next week, and roll tide.
I'm sitting here with Aiden Russell. He's going to tell me about the Alabama Crimson Tide. How are you doing, Aiden?
Good.
Aiden, who's your favorite player on the team?
Tua.
Do you think Tua should be starting?
No.
So you think Jalen should be starting?
Yes.
Did you say that to make your dad mad?
Yeah. Hi.